Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is another edition of College Basketball Madness presented by Prime Sports World. I am your host, Israel Rivera, and we have a lot to cover for the Sweet 16. But before we start the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We go live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And in case you missed our live feed, you can catch us all. You can catch us on all platforms where podcasts can be heard, and that's Apple Music, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and another various many podcast streams. Anyways, before we get into the show, a lot of crazy stuff has happened in the first couple rounds. I mean, nobody expected number one Purdue to go down to Fairleigh Dickinson. Nobody expected Princeton to make it all the way to the Sweet 16, ladies and gentlemen. But that's what March Madness is all about. So just a crazy wild ride. I know that there is not one perfect bracket out there, ladies and gentlemen. So that just goes to show that anything can happen when you hit that NCAA tournament bracket. So you guys are in for a wild ride for the Sweet 16, but we have a nice slate of games here. One thing that really has gotten to me is that some, like, I kind of mentioned this already a couple weeks ago and last week even. So teams like Purdue, I just knew that a team, like, I didn't think a Fairleigh Dickinson would do it. I thought Purdue would get rid of Fairleigh Dickinson, but I thought Memphis would make it into the second round. And, I know Florida Atlantic beat them and everything like that, which, by controversy. But one thing I'll say, like, teams like Purdue, teams, bigger time teams, they kind of get shell shocked when some of these, lesser teams come in there and play with their, play faster, play with just as much intensity at the guard play. One thing I'll say about Purdue, Zach Edey didn't show up. I said it a long time ago. I mean, he might be a lot. I mean, he's great offensively because he can, he's bigger than everybody, but defensively, he's a liability. And it showed against Fairleigh Dickinson. Princeton, when I'm looking at that number 15 seed Princeton, man, they dominated against Mizzou. I mean, let me tell you, man, that team is so well coached, has a high basketball IQ. That's a team that, could very well make it into the Elite Eight, once everything all settles down. And then looking at some of the other top teams like, Houston, which kind of scared me in that second game there a little bit, first and second game there a little bit. But Alabama, it looks to be probably the most dominant team in the whole tournament. Them and really Gonzaga, Alabama, Gonzaga, very dominant, teams. K-State really shocked me. I mean, the play of Marquise Noel. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever seen this 5'0" point guard, but he's got some swag. He's got, all the pizzazz that you need at the point guard position. No look passes, big time shots, big time plays down there for K-State and Keontae Johnson. I mean, we already know what he brings to the table. So, Kentucky, that was actually probably one of the best games in the second round was Kentucky versus K-State. The offensive pace was tremendous in that game. Another team that really, kind of surprised me is Tennessee, because Tennessee has, let me tell you, ACC tournament last few weeks, Tennessee's kind of been meh. They've kind of, haven't been Tennessee that we're used to seeing. But this tournament, Tennessee has looked, defensively, the ball pressure has been there. Defensively, they have been, on it. And I think that, that they have a real good chance, especially playing FAU, they have a real big chance of making it to the Elite Eight for Rick Barnes' squad. So Tennessee is definitely a team that has shocked me a little bit. And we'll see what else brings, but some teams have some, you could say some easy paths to the Final Four. I wouldn't say Creighton has an easy path, but like Alabama, I think Alabama plays the winner. Not Alabama, but I think believe Alabama plays the winner of Creighton and the winner of Xavier in Texas. I think played the winner of Creighton and Princeton. So I mean, one of those four teams will make it. I mean, MSU, K State. You got Arkansas, UConn. I think they think those two teams, if they play each other. So, FAU, Tennessee, MSU, K State. One of those four teams will make it to the Final Four. In my opinion, when I look at the field, I think those would be probably if one of those teams makes it. Which I don't think Princeton will make it. I think Princeton, may make it to the Elite. I don't think they'll make it to the Final Four, but we'll keep our fingers crossed for them. I think that. I think that Tennessee, FAU, MSU, K State will probably be one of the weaker teams in the Final Four, in my opinion. But that's just me. But anyways, getting straight to it. In terms of the Sweet 16, just a lot of myriad of games here that should be exciting here. First up, we're on the slate. We got K State at number 7, Michigan State. Michigan State has been playing very good basketball in the tournament, and K State, just knocked off Kentucky. Very good game as well there. When it comes to this game, players to watch: Tyson Walker for Michigan State, Joey Hauser, stretch 4 there for Michigan State, can really shoot it. You got Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noah from K State. Definitely, out of those 4 guys, I think the key player here in this game definitely has to be the play of Marquise Noah. I mean, if he can get into the crevices of the deep Michigan State defense, he could cause some problems for Michigan State, especially getting his other teammates open. He just plays with an energy that is infectious on the whole team. With that being said, I don't want to bet against Tom Izzo team made it to the Sweet 16. I don't want to bet against a Tom Izzo team that made it to the Sweet 16. I got Michigan State making it to the Elite 8 here in the next round. I just think that team is destined to probably make the Final Four, in my opinion. One thing about them is free throws, right? Free throws, they have to make their free throws. I mean, down the stretch, that's how Iowa came back from 20, down late in the season with a minute 20 left. It's because they couldn't knock down the free throws. Forget which game it was. I think it was the second round, the first round game, which they gave. I'll pull it up here. They couldn't hit their free throws, and they were given a chance. They were giving a team a chance to come back in that game. So yeah, Michigan State definitely has to execute down the stretch, but I think they got it. And that was against USC, where they kept missing their free throws, and just USC couldn't capitalize. And that was the first round game. So hopefully Michigan State can I like what I saw in the last game against Marquette. They played with some tough tenacity, but I like them to move on to the Elite 8, after beating Kansas State. Next game on the slate, got UConn Huskies and number 8 Arkansas. I really didn't think Arkansas would be here. I honestly thought Arkansas might lose to Illinois. They took care of business in there, but the players to watch in this game, we got Adam Sanogo out of UConn, big body, had 28 points, I believe, or 25 points in the previous game. You got Jordan Hawkins, who was making some big threes down the stretch there for UConn. And then we got Ricky Council, Devontae Davis, outside of Nick Smith and Anthony Black for Arkansas. Ricky Council leads Arkansas in points per game. So he's definitely their leader there for the University of Arkansas. When I look at this game, Lord, man, this is a tough one for me to think about here, because I think with the guard play, I think Arkansas runs 4 guards out there. They're really long. They're athletic. They're looking to hit their stride. UConn went against a St. Mary's team that wasn't as athletic, and also in that St. Mary's game, it was one and done. I mean, every time St. Mary's threw up a shot and missed it, they weren't getting any offensive rebounds in that game. So Adama Sanogo had 24 points in the game, 11 and 16. He was just dominant. He was playing big boy basketball against St. Mary's. But Jordan Hawkins was making threes that, I mean, St. Mary's is probably one of the best defensive teams in the nation. And Jordan Hawkins was making threes with a hand all in his eyeballs, three after three in the second half, and really pulled away, middle second half in that game. So shout out to UConn for, making some clutch plays in that game. If I had to pick a winner here, for UConn and Arkansas, I'm gonna stay with UConn. I think UConn's got enough, they got enough experience. They got seniors, juniors on that team, as opposed to what in Arkansas's main rotation is. They got a mixed version. They got a mixed group of seniors and freshmen. But when I look at the talent wise, I like Arkansas, right? Talent wise, Nick Smith, Anthony Black, probably 2 first round picks in the next in the NBA draft, right? Maybe 2 lottery picks in the NBA draft. When we look at UConn, I just think that they just have the shot makers. They have the big. They have the inside. They have the outside. They have the guards that can make things happen. They're well coached. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this matchup to the UConn Huskies to move forward and beat the Arkansas Razorbacks here. Moving on to the next matchup, we got FAU going against number 4 Tennessee. And I just mentioned Tennessee. I just think like hell of a defensive team. I think they have been showing that throughout the whole tournament here. When I look at Tennessee, I think that that's a team that once they get set defensively, it's really tough to stop them. Really tough to stop Tennessee. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for that technical difficulty there. Had some internet issues here. Well, anyways, going on about FAU and Tennessee. That's a game that, when I look at Tennessee, like I said, once they get set defensively, they're real tough to beat. Their on ball, pressure with the Vescovi from Uruguay, who was I would say one of the steadiest point guards in the nation, in my opinion. But when I look at this team, I mean, Olivier Kamoy, I can't even pronounce his name right. Man, 27 points versus Duke. I mean, I thought Duke was like a team destined to win the national championship, in my opinion. They shut that down. Their on-ball pressure was tremendous. And I think when you go against FAU, a player to look out for, Janelle Davis. I mean, he leads the team in points per game, leads the team in rebounds, all that good stuff. But Janelle Davis, he's definitely a factor when it comes to FAU. He's a big body. He's a guy that's been getting some looks from some scouts here. Definitely could possibly be a late first rounder, maybe a second rounder here. But Tennessee, I think, takes care of business against FAU. And I don't think it'll be close. I think Tennessee might win this game by a nice margin. I mean, what I saw against Duke, I mean, they played some great perimeter defense against Duke. They struggled a little bit against Louisiana, and that's because Louisiana's size with Jordan Davis, not Jordan Davis, but Jordan Brown. It really hurt him. Jordan Brown, he's a guy that's going to be nice at the next level. I don't know if he'll be a star at the next level, but he'll definitely be a rotational player at the next level. He's a guy that can catch the ball on the inside, He could make every move. He could face you up, he could back you down. And so that really gave Tennessee some issues there, especially in the second half as they were making a run. But I like Tennessee to win this game against FAU. I don't really think FAU has the guard play to kind of get past the defensive pressure. I think there's too much pressure that Tennessee will put on FAU. It'll make it a lot difficult for that team to to get into their offensive sets. Now we got the premier matchup of Thursday here. We got number 2 UCLA going up against number 3 Gonzaga. And let me tell you something. This is the hard game to really predict because, stars are on the floor. You got Drew Timme from Gonzaga. You got Jaime Jaquez from UCLA. Tiger Campbell from UCLA. David Singleton, who's been there, seems like forever. Amari Bailey. UCLA got all the stars, in this game. But Gonzaga's no slouch either. They play, Mark Few has his team playing at a high level again at tournament time. Adam, getting Adam Bona back for UCLA was kind of big. I think, him and Singleton, I think that's going to be a key matchup here when it comes to, guarding Drew Timme down there. But you never know. I mean, Gonzaga's, definitely a hot team right now. Going back into the season, I mean, I think they've won their last, Godly, I think Gonzaga's won their last 8 or 9. In my opinion, so I think they won their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games going into the regular season. They won their last. Yeah, they won their last. 9 games. 9 games in the regular season, and then 2 games here in the postseason. So Gonzaga is a team that's really hot right now. UCLA is definitely a very talented team. If I had to pick a team, though, I think I'm going to go with UCLA to win this basketball game. I just think they have a little bit too much down the perimeter there for Gonzaga to handle. Definitely some of their perimeter guys are going to have to step it up, but I'm going to have to give UCLA the go here in the Sweet 16. So we have a Sweet 16. So we have Michigan State, UConn, Tennessee, and UCLA all moving on to the Elite 8 out of Thursday. Moving on to Friday's matchup, we got number 1 Alabama going up against number 5 San Diego State. And one thing about this game, Alabama's been the most dominant team in the tournament, in my opinion. I mean, they just have looked like a man amongst, that cliche saying a man amongst boys. That's what Alabama has been. I mean, they special. There's something different there down there in Tuscaloosa. I mean, Brandon Miller, he's going to be top 3 pick. He might be the number 2 overall pick. I've said this before. He might be the number 2 overall pick, depending on team needed at the next level. Whoever gets picked, whoever gets those top 3 picks, team need. I think Brandon Miller could actually supersede the young boy out of the G League. So I think Brandon Miller will definitely be a top 3 pick. He could be a top 2 pick. I'm talking about Scoop Henderson. So when I look at Alabama, I mean, they have size. They have guys on the perimeter. Javon Quinterly, especially with the ball in his hands, he could distribute. But once I look at San Diego State, that's a tough team, man. I mean, that team, is like, I mean, they'll bump you. They'll get that pressure on you. Matt Bradley, Lamont Butler, Keyshawn Johnson. I mean, those guys. I mean, those guys are going to be. We got Nathan Mensah. Those guys are physical presences, and it's going to be a big matchup between the 2 front court guys with Charles Bediako and Noah Clowney. Noah Clowney can stretch you out. He's a freshman that can stretch you out there on the perimeter for Alabama. Charles Bediako's sophomore. He's a 7-footer out of Ontario, out of Canada. So that might be posing some problems for San Diego State, who's a little bit doesn't have a 7-footer on their team. So that might be a problem there. But they got a lot of bulk on their team. They're really tough as nails type of basketball team, but not going to be enough to beat Alabama. In my opinion, Alabama's just too good, too skilled. I mean, they just have more talent. They're just a talented team, more dominating team. They easily make it to the Elite 8, in my opinion. Um, Moving on to the next matchup, we got Miami Houston, and this is another game. I think this is a tough game for Houston. I mean, you got the perimeter play of Isaiah Wong, which could pose a problem. But I think Jamal Sneed, Marcus Sasser can handle it. One guy I'm looking out for is Jarris Walker. Man, he has 6 blocks. I mean, this is a kid that they're talking about could be a top 5 projected pick in the NBA draft next year. True freshman. This kid had 6 blocks the last game, along with Javon Roberts had 5 blocks, 11 blocks between both of those guys. I think that is going to be a key matchup with him and Omir, who's their leading rebounder. He's averaging 13 and 10 on the season, but he had 17 rebounds in the last game. So when I look at this team, I mean, and that was against Trayce Jackson Davis in Indiana, for Miami, even though Trayce Jackson Davis had a hell of a game at 5 blocks, 23, 8, something along those lines. I think Houston is a team that's kind of destined. The Final Four is in Houston. So I think, we're going to see a Houston versus Texas Elite Eight matchup. In my opinion, that's what we all want to see. And I think we will see a Houston Texas Elite Eight matchup. I'm kind of moving forward a little bit here in the Texas matchup, but I got Houston winning this matchup against Miami. Moving on to Princeton Creighton. This is a matchup right here that I'm just excited to see. I think out of all the matchups I'm excited to see is this Princeton Creighton matchup. I think Princeton's well coached. Tosan, I can't really pronounce his last name. Ivabwan. Tosan Ivabwan, who's leading them in points. He's a guard forward, 6'8". He's leading them in points and assists. Ryan Longbird, he had 22 points versus Mizzou. That game against Missouri, it was not even close from the tip off. I mean, Mitch Henderson has his team playing like they believe. He explained to us earlier. He explained to the media earlier that this is a fearless bunch. They've been running the same type of Princeton offense with all the back cuts and everything like that. This is the team. I mean, it's kind of like similar to when you play Army or Navy, something like that. When they're running the triple option, it's kind of one of those weird offenses that you kind of have to get used to in game. The film does a lot of things you could prepare for, but it's something different when you get in the game and they're actually running these back cut actions. When I look at Creighton, Ryan Nembhard, he had 30 points. He was cooking against Baylor. Little brother was cooking against Baylor. He was cooking. He's another guy that you got to watch out for. Creighton has a guy, that's a guard, and Baylor, Sherman, he's a leading rebounder at 8 rebounds. He's a guy that, when they're cooking it out to, Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's their leading scorer, stretch 5, 7'1". He could shoot. He's averaging 2 blocks. He's shooting 40% from 3. He's averaging 17 points per game. I mean, this is a team that, Creighton, they could kill you they could hurt you in a myriad of ways. Princeton's definitely have to play another perfect game to beat Creighton. Honestly, this is a hard one to pick, in my opinion. I just think the back cut action, I think the way Princeton's playing, I think they believe, I think they are fearless. I think once they get set up defensively, it's hard for a lot of teams to probably play against them unless they have overwhelming guard play, which I don't think Creighton has overwhelming guard play. So give me Princeton to move on into the Elite Eight. And I know some Princeton Ivy League scholars are probably very happy with that pick if they are watching the show. Princeton moving on to the Elite Eight over Creighton. Sorry, Blue Jays fans, but you guys are going home early this year. But a good ride to the Sweet 16. This is a Creighton team that, let me tell you something. Creighton, if they lose in the Sweet 16, it's not a disappointing season at all because they started out the season losing like 8 in a row. In the first half of the season, they lost so many games in a row. It was incredible. And then the second half of the season, they just turned it on. So Creighton had a bounce back second half of the year, made it to the Sweet 16. If they can make it to the Elite Eight, great. I don't know if they do make it to the Elite Eight. They certainly are favored. I believe they're a 9.5 point favorite here in this ball game. But nonetheless, Creighton has had an amazing season coming back from, losing all those games in the first half of the season to coming back and winning in the second half of the season. So nothing to hang your heads on if you lose this game to a hot Princeton team out of the Ivy League. And then the last matchup of the Friday slate, we have number 2 Texas versus number 3 Xavier, and this is going to be a hell of a game as well. Texas, Dylan DeSue. Dylan DeSue with 28 points in the last game that they played versus Penn State, and that was a hell of a game as well. He literally made buckets down the stretch that were just massive and really put Penn State away. But when I look at this game for Xavier, I think the guard play, Sully Bean, who's their senior leader, Jack Nuns, who's the big time center. That's going to be a key matchup with Nuns and Dylan DeSue. Some that Penn State really didn't have the size that Xavier does have. Xavier does have that size, in the middle. Kobe Jones and Sully Boom, it's going to be that matchup with those two versus Jabari Walker and Marcus Carr is going to be key in this game. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. Can't come down to the wire. Texas is favored by 4 points. It depends on which Xavier team shows up. If it's a Xavier team that showed up in the second game against Villanova, I think Texas wins easily. But if this is a Xavier team that showed up in the last game, this could be a tough team. The Xavier team that showed up against Pitt, this is a tough team to beat. Especially once they get going defensively, they get set, they get out in transition. This could be a tough team to beat, but I got Texas winning. I think Jabari Walker, I think he gets his stroke going. He's kind of struggled the last game to get it going, but I think he gets it going this game. He's got that quick release. I think he makes a few big time threes here down the stretch for Texas, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think it won't be decided by 4. I think it'll be down to the wire. I think last possession wins this basketball game here to send to the Elite Eight, and I think Texas and Houston. I think that's a dream Elite Eight matchup for the state of Texas here, everybody. So that's what I got for Friday. I got Alabama, Houston, Princeton, and Texas moving on to the Elite Eight. So this is the Elite Eight here. We got Michigan State, we got UConn, we got Tennessee, we got UCLA, Alabama, Houston, Princeton, and Texas. And that's going to be my Elite Eight there. And I know that's probably that bracket is whoever has Princeton this far, if they have them in the Elite Eight, kudos to you for having a perfect bracket, because I don't think there's not one perfect bracket out there, but who knows? There might be somebody out there that picked some team colors and made their fish pick their teams for him, or their cat, like David liked to say. He had Chase pick his picks, and her bracket was doing really good. She picked Fairleigh Dickinson over Purdue. So if a cat could get it right, I don't know what to say, man. But everybody, does some weird things with their brackets every year, and it's kind of interesting to see some of the people, some of the experts, so quote unquote experts, their brackets are already busted. I know mine was busted the first day, and I'm pretty sure 99% of the United States bracket was busted in the first day of tournament play. So anyways, everybody, that's been a wrap. Go ahead, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Going live 24/7. We bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen, 24/7, 365 days a year here at Prime Sports World. And in case you missed this live feed, go ahead and check us out on all platforms where podcasts can be heard. That is Apple Music, Samsung Music, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, ladies and gentlemen. But let me know in the comment section who you have down here in the Elite Eight and possibly in the Final Four. I know tomorrow we'll be bringing you the crossover with David and TJ, and then we'll be coming with a Final Four preview here, or Elite Eight preview here coming up this weekend. So you guys don't want to miss that hot content here at Prime Sports World. But everybody, in case I miss you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Sayonara, suckers.